Live, and today I'm going to show you how I made a card with the cute More Than Autumn stamp set bundle. This is one of those bundles that's been around for a little while, but I still love it. And you know, I love all things fall, and so I just couldn't help myself. I decided it was time to make a fall card again. Well, another one. So, all right, just moving my camera around here a little bit, so hopefully we get on here a little bit straighter and a little bit more centered. But this is a card we're going to be making today. It's just got some fun plaid paper from the Weekend Adventures Designer Series paper pack. And this is one of those packs that it's in the annual catalog, and then I added some of the two-tone cardstock, a couple different colors in the background here, so cut some leaves from it as well. So just got a fun little card for you to check out today. So hey, Pam and Karen, thanks for joining. So this is the More Than Autumn stamp set. It is a photopolymer, so it's one of those that is easy to stamp with. You can see right through it and see where you're stamping. And yeah, got lots of fun images for fall and Christmas, and even all the way into Valentine's Day. You can definitely get some Valentine. There's little hearts and stuff in here as well. So it's a great stamp set bundle, and it is bundled with some dies. And the dies, the larger open ones here, well, actually all the open ones, there are some little ones as well. We'll cut out all of these stamped images, including the donut and all the little, you know, the cookies and the heart and the pumpkin, the straw, the little cinnamon stick, candy cane, all that stuff. They all have dies that you can cut out. Even the marshmallows have a little die here. And then there's one that cuts out the whipped cream, donut, pie, the cup. This one actually I used on my card today, and it cuts out the top of the whipped cream. So if you were wondering, like me when I first got this die set, I couldn't figure out what this was for. The larger whipped cream image, you can cut the whole thing out with this, or you can basically stamp it and just cut the very top of it out with this piece. So they're exactly the same die. This one's just like a miniature version. So you can put the little whipped cream on the top of the pie. So, all right, again, a fun die set. And I did use these little leaf, or this little leaf quite a few times here on the background of the card too. All right, let's set that aside. One other thing that I did also use was the perennial postage dies. I used this one, which measures about, I don't know, it's roughly 1.5 inches by about 2.5 inches, and maybe, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch different than that, but roughly 1.5 inches by 2.5 inches. And again, just perennial postage die that I used to cut out the 3 rectangles in the background of the card. So, hey, Karen and Kathy and Daryl and Carol, thanks for joining. All right, couple things before we get going. Don't forget, Stampin' Up! Has got a free shipping offer going on through the end of the day today, which is Friday the 25th of July, on all orders of $75 or greater. So if you have not put in your order, or you want to put in another one, because sometimes that happens too, go ahead and get it done before the end of the day today on Friday the 25th of July, and you're going to get free shipping if your order is $75 or greater. And that does, so I know Stampin' Rewards are a thing now, so if you apply Stampin' Rewards to your order, just know that it's going to take the merchandise total down a little bit. So your merchandise total, after all of your discounts and things get applied to it for customers, you will need to be $75 in the merchandise category in order to qualify for the free shipping. So let me know if you have questions about that. And again, details are on my blog, which is stampwithamyk.com. So, hey, is it Jamadi? Hopefully I'm saying it, not totally saying your name wrong. So, rainy British Columbia. It's scorching hot here today in New Jersey. We're supposed to have like a huge heat wave this weekend, which, yay. So anyway, it's not terrible, but it's not very nice outside. All right, online exclusives, just want to remind you of those anytime that you're out shopping, especially during your free shipping weekend. Make sure you're peeking out the online exclusives. You can find those by going to StampinUp.com. And then clicking on the menu button on the upper left, and then clicking on the little round circle that says online exclusives on it. There are about 10 pages of items, and they are not in any catalog, not tied to any catalog, so they will come and go. So you'll definitely want to go ahead and get anything from there that you're interested in. So it is hot in New Jersey. I am here with you, Bonnie. It's just icky hot. Okay, it looks like Connecticut. I knew New York was going to be hot too. So yeah, I suppose it makes sense. Connecticut. It's just yucky hot here this weekend. So, all right, let's get going. Thinking fall thoughts today. All right, we've got a Cajun Craze card base. This is one that is a standard kind of book fold card. It is 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4 1/4 in the middle. So just your standard issue book fold card base. And then I've got a piece of the Weekend Adventures Designer Series paper. This is one of those packs in the annual catalog, and it is in kind of towards the front of the catalog. It's in with some scrapbooking stuff, and initially I'd kind of passed it by, but then my friend Karen Jamadi. Okay, sorry for I'm sure I totally said it wrong, but thank you. All right, so my friend Karen pointed it out to me, and so I, decided we'd get a little bit of it. So, all right, I'm going to adhere this to the card front with a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue. The panel that I'm going to adhere on here is cut to about 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so it should cover the entire card front if I've cut the piece correctly. And it's kind of the perfect colors for fall, I think. So Cajun Craze and black, perfect plaid background for all things fall. All right, so we got that adhered together. Then I did one of them ahead of time, but we're going to do the other one here. So this is basic black two-tone cardstock, and hopefully you can see the difference when I flip it over. One is definitely a much darker black, and then the reverse side of it is a gray, in my opinion. So this started out as 3 3/4 by 5 1/2, and I just tore the very edge off of each side of it. This is Cajun Craze, same thing, where it's the two-tone cardstock, so it's darker on one side, lighter on the other. I do find that I tend to like the darker colors better. So, and this one is cut to about 3 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm just going to do the same thing here, where I'm just going to tear off the very edge of it. There is a white core with this cardstock, so if you do not like that look, you can definitely just use standard cardstock and tear it, and you'll get a similar effect. You just won't get the white look with it. The other thing you can do is, if you want it to be a little bit lighter of a white look, you can take a blending brush and kind of run it over the edge with a little bit of ink. So if I wanted it to be Cajun Craze, I could do that, or you could even take, I don't know, one of the other oranges, maybe pumpkin pie or something like that, and would give you a little contrast in there in the color, but it wouldn't be the bright white that it is now. So if you don't love the look of the white, you don't have to do that, or you don't have to tear it at all. So, all right. There we go. We've got both edges torn off on this one, as well as on the black one, and we're just going to stick it to the card front here with a little Stampin' seal. All right. Oh yeah, fire alerts are definitely very scary. So yeah, I would definitely take rain over the fire for sure. So, all right, I'm just going to, again, kind of roughly center it. It's probably not going to be perfect, but covering up a good chunk of the Designer Series paper. If you wanted to conserve your Designer Series paper a little bit, and sometimes I do it depending on how much of it I have left, you could just take maybe 3/4 inch wide strip and stick it on here of the designer paper, and another 3/4 inch wide strip and stick it on here, and then layer your cardstock over the top of it, and nobody will know but you and me that you've cheated a little and the center of it isn't covered with the Designer Series paper. So that is, if you're looking to conserve paper a little bit, you can definitely do that. All right, got both layers adhered on here with a little bit of the Stampin' Seal. So next up, I did do quite a bit of the die cutting ahead of time just because it's boring to sit and watch this. These are basic white cardstock pieces that were cut with, again, banged into my light, sorry, with the die, the perennial postage die that measures about 1.5 inches by 2.5 inches. And just cut out 3 of those. One of them I'm actually going to stamp on. I'm going to put the little Hello Fall sentiment on it. So let me grab my fall and my hello image. I am using Tuxedo Black Memento ink for the hello on here, as well as the other stamped images that were die cut. So Tuxedo Black, and again, hopefully we get it on there fairly straight. Probably not going to be perfect. It's always a little easier when I don't have a camera in between me and what I'm stamping, because I can see things a little better, but that's all right. We'll get it on there. And then fall, I'm stamping in Cajun Craze ink right underneath the little hello. And we'll close that up. And then we're going to stick these on the card base here already. Again, I'm going to roughly, let me see if I can get it somewhat centered here. There we go. Slide it up here, again, just roughly centering it. The darkest line in the middle is my center line. Again, you're not probably going to get these stuck on here perfectly straight, but it does help, at least me, when I am putting these together, something where I want it to be roughly centered like this, to use my grid paper as sort of a guide. to put it on here, so that hopefully I can get it on here reasonably straight. Again, it's probably never going to be perfect, but reasonably straight. Then stick the little one next to it. And you'll note that I'm not smooshing these down just yet. I'm going to lay these on the panel here, get the layout set up where I think I want it, and do like a last little double check to make sure it looks fairly centered, fairly straight. And if it does, then we're going to go ahead and smoosh everything down and stick it down well. But if I haven't smooshed it, I have the opportunity to kind of carefully pick it up and rearrange it if need be. So, all right. Next up, I also cut these ahead of time, and I'll show you the die I used and how I did it. A couple little leaves. Again, these are all cut from the two-tone cardstock, and I used this die. And basically what I did was I ran it through one time with the dark version, or the dark side of the two-tone cardstock, and then I flipped it over to the light side up and ran it through again. So basically I got two die cut pieces that, you know, obviously this one cut with that one, and then the center of this one cut with this one, and I just switched them. So I pulled the center out. This is actually, when you die cut it, it's two separate pieces. So I just took the center out of the light one and put it inside the dark, took the center out of the dark one and put it inside the light. So hopefully that makes sense hopefully it makes sense what I'm saying. But I just kind of put them back together there, so hopefully I wouldn't lose track of anything as I was sticking things together here. And then we're going to grab a glue dot or two, and we are just going to stick those on the back of these little leaves. And I found this to be the easiest way to stick them down, just because if you use liquid glue, you can use liquid glue, but it might be kind of messy because these obviously are two separate die cuts, and so you could end up with a little glue oozing out in between the layers, where the glue dots, you're not going to have that, so that won't be an issue. So, all right, and again, this is pumpkin pie that I used. Old Olive and Cajun Craze were the colors of the two-tone cardstock that I picked. And we'll go ahead and stick the other little pumpkin pie leaf up there. Then I'm going to grab my Old Olive leaves, and we'll put those on next. And we'll stick that one down here. Whoop, let go of my finger. And then another one up here. There we go. And we'll just take this little green leaf and put the Old Olive down here. And then Old Olive on the other side of the card front. And second little glue dot on there. We're just going to put it down here in the corner, kind of the opposite of my pumpkin pie leaf. There we go. And then the final one is Cajun Craze. And I did end up having to cut two of those because obviously it's, you know, two different sides to the cardstock for the two-tone cardstock. Oh, come on now. All right. And the other one, I actually just used basically the opposite one that I'd cut for my first card. So you don't have to waste it. You can hold on to the little leaf if you don't want the second one immediately. You'll use it for another fall project sometime soon. All right, so there we go. We've got our little leaves all stuck down. Going to set those aside and get rid of that. Try to clean this up a little bit. Again, ahead of time, because it's boring to watch stamp, die cut, and this one has kind of got small die cuts, so they're a little bit more fiddly, but I will definitely show you which dies I used and the stamped images that I used for everything. So obviously this is the More Than Autumn stamp set, so the pie is this pie image, and then there's this pie die. The donuts for the donut image, and here's the little donut die. The mug, or the cup, is the cup image. Here's the cup die. And then we've got the full-size whipped cream, which is this one, and I stamped that twice. So I cut it out once with the full-size piece, full-size die, and then once with this little mini die. And when you cut the full-size with the little mini, basically it just cuts off the top of it, so you get just this little piece of whipped cream for the top of the pie, which I think is really cute. So that was how I got all the die cuts done. And now we're just going to color. And it's a fair amount of coloring, not terrible, but a little bit. So I'm going to start with the Ivory Stampin' Blends marker. And I'm just going to go along here, just put a little kind of tracing along the lines, basically on the whipped cream image. And again, if you don't like the look of this, you don't have to do it. I've definitely done them before where I didn't add any color to the whipped cream, but I thought it looked kind of cute and added a little pumpkin spice-ish look to it. And then I took my color lifter and lightened it. So again, you can barely see it on here, but it just adds a little bit of contrast to the color so it's not a bright white look on your whipped cream. So again, just depends on what look you like. If you prefer it to be just the bright white, you can certainly just do the white, stamp it on basic white cardstock, and you're done and it's all good. So hopefully you can see there's a little contrast between it when you, I don't know, I'm not even sure how well it's showing up on the video. I can see it in my hand, but it's hard sometimes with the bright lights on the videos to get stuff to show up correctly. Okay. Next up, we are going to do coloring of the donuts. And so I've got pumpkin pie and Cajun craze and crumb cake for my Stampin' blends. So I'm going to start, hopefully, oh, that's the dark one. Then it shows up in the video. Okay, great. I'm glad you could see it because like I said, when I looked at it on my side, I'm like, oh, it just looks white. So that's not quite what I was going for trying to show it, but glad you could see it. All right, I've got Cajun Craze. I'm starting with the light on this one, and we're going to color the frosting in Cajun Craze because, you know, that's perfect for, you know, fall, Halloween, Cajun Craze, and pumpkin pie frosting. And I'm sure they're pumpkin-flavored donuts that I'm making here. So I'm starting with the light Cajun Craze, and we're just going to color that all in here. And again, I'm not worrying about getting anything too neatly done, just basically kind of flooding the area with color, making sure that there's color over everything first. Then I'm going to come back in with my dark Cajun Craze, and we're just going to put a little bit around the edge here. And we'll do a little around the center of the donut, and then we'll do a little blending. And then we'll color the actual donut, and it'll be done. So like I said, the coloring part is what takes the longest on this one. So now I'm going to go and just blend in the ink here along the edge with my light Cajun Craze marker again. And there we go. And then the center, same thing. I'm just going to go along here and just kind of scribble, kind of swirl the colors together so there's not like a harsh line there. And then I'm just going to kind of go over, trace over everything here in the center so that there's not a harsh white line in the middle of it. And hopefully it looks a little blended. There we go. Then I'm going to grab my dark crumb cake Stampin' Blends marker. And I'm just going to color in the little bits of the donut that you can see here along the edge. There we go. And a little bit more here. All right, donut number 1 is done. Then I'm going to grab pumpkin pie for the second donut. And again, same thing, just going to trace along the edge. Probably should have colored one of these two in ahead of time, but that's okay. I'm sure you are enjoying hearing me rambling on. So again, just using the light pumpkin pie. I find it's easiest when I color light and then add the dark and then come back in with the light. But everybody kind of has their own method of coloring. Some people find it easier to put the dark first and then blend the light, but for me this way works best, so that's how I do it. Then I've got dark pumpkin pie. Same thing here, where I'm just going to trace around the edges with the dark marker. There we go. And trace around the center again with the dark. Oop, probably should do that a little bit neater. And then go back in here with the light and swirl the two together along the edges first, and then pull it towards the center. Just trying to avoid getting those, you know, really heavy lines where you can definitely see that it was colored with two different markers. So just trying to blend the edges together a little bit. All right, and then color over the center. And if you like the way the white looks in the center, you don't have to color over it. You can color them however you want them to be. There we go. So we got pumpkin pie all done. Then I'm going to grab the light crumb cake. And I made this donut a light colored donut. The other one was a dark colored donut, so this one's a little bit lighter. So maybe more of a vanilla with the pumpkin frosting on this one, and the other one's a pumpkin donut. So, all right. Next up, we've got the little piece of pumpkin pie. So again, I'm going to go back. I thought about coloring it with Cajun Craze, but I just figured that wouldn't be right for pumpkin pie. I had to color it with pumpkin pie markers. So again, same thing here, where I'm just going to trace along the edge with my light pumpkin pie Stampin' Blends marker, and then just fill in the full image. There we go. And again, don't need to worry about it being colored perfectly or really nicely. So, hey, Linda, thanks for hopping in. And then we're going to take the dark and just trace around the edges here. A little bit here on the ends. Trace along this line, a little bit here at the end. And then maybe pull it a little bit like that, maybe a little bit there. And then come back in with the light and do the same thing where I'm just blending together the edges first, so that there's not the harsh line there, and then pulling towards the center to smooth it out a little bit. All right, same thing on this one. Coloring over the edges first, and then pulling towards the center so that you don't have the harsh lines on it. And that's it for the pumpkin pie. Then here's my light crumb cake. That is what I used for the pie crust. So a little light crumb cake here. And swooshing it up here towards the top of the pie crust. And I don't know if you noticed I had a little boo-boo there where I accidentally colored a little bit of the orange onto the crust. And when you go over the top of it with your light crumb cake marker, it basically blends it right in, and then nobody can see that you had a little boo-boo on there. So that is why I love blends, because they're pretty easy to fix if you have a mistake. The other thing you can do with it is you can use the color lifter too. That'll help to kind of pick up and cover up little mistakes. If you have something that goes out of the line a little bit and you want to push it back in, you can grab your color lifter and use it to color over the top of whatever the boo-boo is, and it usually will fix it. So, all right. So I added a little bit of the dark crumb cake and then went back and put a little bit more of the light over the top of it. Hey, Sally, thanks for hopping in. Glad you're here. So we've got those done. Last thing we've got is the cup. And I did forget to say this little stamped pumpkin, obviously I used it to stamp on the cup. So I stamped the cup first and then put the little pumpkin in the center of it. And because I figured it was, pumpkin spice, I think that it's brown. I love pumpkin spice, the flavor, but I will say I've never really had pumpkin spice coffee because I'm not really a coffee person. And I don't think pumpkin spice tea would taste very good. I'm a tea drinker, not a coffee drinker. So I'm assuming that your pumpkin spice coffee is going to be a darker brown in color. So I used pecan pie for the coffee. And although you could color the cup really any color that you want it to be, because you could just be the color of the cup, but I figured that pecan pie would be a good color for coffee. Filled it in with the light first, and then I'm going to come back in here with the dark color up here around the top and along the edge. Same thing here, just kind of coloring around the label. A little bit here at the bottom, and then I'm going to grab my light pecan pie and come back in and blend the edges. And then I'll do the same thing where I just blend the edges, try to get rid of the harsh line, and then just pull it towards the center to even out the color a little bit. And again, if you don't like the pulling towards the center, if you want it to be a little lighter in the center, you don't have to do that part. You can do this and leave it at that if that look is more appealing to you. But I like it a little bit more blended than that, so I will usually scratch over the center and even it out just a little bit. So let me grab my color lifter because I did do a oops outside the line here. I don't know how well I can hold it up here so you can see it, but I did a little goop out of the line. So what I'll do is just grab my color lifter and then color right over that spot, and it basically pushes the ink back in and gets rid of the little goof. So, all right. You're terrible at, oh man, it took me a little practice to kind of get used to it. I still am not going to tell you that I am like an excellent person at coloring, but I've definitely gotten a lot better at it. And my first tip is always don't ever try to color a person as your first item. Flowers, leaves, those kinds of things, or these fun images like this are definitely very easy and very forgiving. So start with something fun or something pretty that's floral, because there are all sorts of colors in nature, so you don't have to worry about how things look and having it turn out perfectly and all that sort of thing, because nature has all sorts of shades of all sorts of colors. So this is Old Olive that I'm using. So again, started with the light Old Olive Stampin' Blends marker and just kind of tracing around the edges here with the dark. I'm going to grab my light marker again and come in and just kind of scratch over the edges so that there's not the harsh line there. Trying to just blend the edges a little bit. And then I'm just going to pull from the edge to the center to make it so that it's not quite such a light spot in the middle, a little more blended. All right, last piece we have to color, I promise. I've got Cajun Craze, and that's why I use the pumpkin. So again, starting with the light color, Cajun Craze, and filling in most of the pumpkin image. Well, filling all the pumpkin image in. And then come back in here with the dark. Do a little of that around the edges. Like that. And then come back in with the light and just kind of blend everything together a little bit on the edges. Pull in a little bit towards the center. And we're going to stop coloring. I'm going to call it good. All right. Oh, get all those markers out of the way. The last thing that I need to do is I did put some sprinkles on my larger whipped cream, and I did those in Cajun Craze ink. And there's a little sprinkles image in the More Than Autumn stamp set. So I just took that, inked it up with Cajun Craze ink, and then stamped it right over the top of the whipped cream. So, and again, you can make those any color that you want to, which is kind of fun. All right. Let's start assembling everything here on the card front. I'm going to start with my cup and the whipped cream. So when I do the cup, I'm going to just make sure that I've got a couple Stampin' Dimensionals down here near the bottom, a couple up here near the top. And because the whipped cream is actually going to be on the outside of the cup, I don't have to worry about things accidentally, you know, it doesn't matter where I put my Stampin' Dimensionals, I guess is what you'll say. So it is a really cute bundle. So and no worries, thanks for hopping in for as long as you could be here. So, all right, I haven't peeled the backing off of these yet. The only reason I am doing this is I just kind of want to get a feel for where this is going to land on the card. So I know that I want my bottom to be lined up roughly with the bottom of that die cut. And we'll peel off the backing here. And we'll stick this little die cut cup here on the die cut rectangle. Then I'm going to grab a couple more Stampin' Dimensionals here for my whipped cream. Now these I do want to kind of keep up. I don't want to put Stampin' Dimensionals all the way down here to the bottom because it is going to overlap that cup just a bit. So you're going to want to keep them up a little bit when you put these two together. I'm glad you're liking it. Like I said, this is one of my favorite bundles as well. I love all things fall, and I just couldn't help myself, especially since it's like starting to get hot and summery and kind of yucky here, and I love fall. So I was happy to be able to pick up something fall, something fun to use. All right, my little whipped cream for the top of the pie, I'm going to use a glue dot to stick that on. And then we're just going to take that and put it on the little pie die cut. Just like that. Flip it over, and I guess I got Stampin' Dimensionals started over here, and we'll grab a couple Stampin' Dimensionals. This one I am going to intentionally put a dimensional kind of up here a little bit on the back of the whipped cream so that that stays up and doesn't accidentally get stuck down to the card front. So picking off the backings here on these, and I do chop my dimensionals in half, so if you want to use whole ones, you certainly can. I just prefer the half size, so you can take your pick on what you like to use. And then we're just going to stick the pie over the top of the little leaves over here. And we just have 2 donuts left to put on. And we're almost done with the card front. So, all right, for this one, I'm just going to stick 3 dimensionals here on the back of my pumpkin pie donut. And I should have grabbed my paper snips. I'm not sure I can reach it. But what I'm just going to try to do is just rip off the bottom of these little I didn't like the way, because when I put the donuts on there, you could see the ends of the leaves kind of sticking out in the center of the donut. And I didn't love the way that looked, so I just snipped them off. So if you like it, you can leave them on there. I didn't like the way it looked, so I took them off. All right, then we're going to take the second donut and stick it up here. And I'm just going to put 2 dimensionals on the back of this donut. And then we're going to put a glue dot here over on the final spot, since it's layering over the top of my other little donut. There we go. Let's take that one, sort of stick it up here like that. And then the final piece, I swear we're almost done. So do you know what stamp? I have no idea, Jennifer. They have told us they are looking at other products from other companies. Hopefully they will have something and some sort of an update for us soon. But yeah, I don't know for sure what they're going to use to replace the snips, but hopefully we'll have something soon. So, all right. Final thing that I added on, these are from the online exclusives as well. And these are neutral matte dots, and they're pecan pie, very vanilla, or basic beige. I can't remember which one. Maybe that's basic beige. Basic black and white. So I just grabbed a couple of the basic black ones and put it on here. If you like the pecan pie ones better, you could do the pecan pie. I just thought the black ones looked better with the sentiment. So there you go. So that is it for the card front. Inside of the card, I kept it pretty simple. Just got a basic white cardstock panel. This is cut to 4 by 5 1/4. And then a little piece that I had trimmed off when I was making the card front of the designer series paper. Oh, I got gunk stuck on there. Yuck. So, all right, just using a little Stampin' seal to adhere these 2 together. All the details for this card are going to be on my blog tomorrow, which is stampwithamyk.com. I will link directly to the blog post once it goes live around 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern time on Saturday. So you'll be able, I do need my snips. Hold on. I thought I was going to get by without them. Thankfully, they're within stand-up reaching distance. So, all right, there we go. And we'll trim off the little excess here. Then we're going to go ahead and stick this on the inside of the card with some Stampin' Seal, and we're going to be all done for today. So, all right. There we go. Let me grab my bone folder. We're going to fold this closed and give it a little crease. And that's it. So card is all done. Super quick and easy. Like I said, what obviously takes the longest is just the coloring. But you know, it's fun. And I love the fall colors, so I had a lot of fun finishing it up and doing all the coloring. And yes, Jennifer, today is the last day for free shipping, so make sure you get your order put in by midnight Mountain Time tonight. Yeah, you know, and get free shipping if you're ordering $75 or greater. So, and yes, Pam, you do need this bundle. I can't believe you don't have it yet. You need to get it. You're going to love it. It's lots of fun. And I love that you can go all the way. There's Christmas stuff in there. And again, even Valentine's Day you can do with it. So it's a fun bundle. So cute. Love all the images in it. And yeah, that's it. All right. So I actually, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go live next week, Tuesday. I've got all of a sudden had all these appointments that got piled onto Tuesday. And then I thought, well, maybe I could go live Monday. And then I got appointments scheduled on Monday. So we're just going to say next week, Friday, I'll plan to be live around 2 o'clock Eastern time. And then the week after that, Tuesday and Friday, both, I should be able to go live again. So I will plan to see you all next week, Friday, 2 o'clock Eastern time with another card project. And until then, I'll be posting stuff to my blog every day. So go over there and check it out. Always have written tutorials, lots of pictures, descriptions of everything that I do, as well as a list of all the products that I use. So you can always find all the details on my blog. So thanks again for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday, and stay cool if you're in the scorchy area of the country like I am here in New Jersey. And hopefully not too much rain anywhere else. You know, have a good weekend. We'll just say that. All right. Chat with y'all soon.